I have had this YouTube channel for over 2 years now, and in that time I've been making videos primarily about music, movies, movements, movies about music, music about movements, and watcher entertainment. Unfortunately for me, that was probably a one-time thing. If I had any sense, I would continue making videos on trending topics and collecting that sweet, sweet ad revenue. But no, I want to talk about music. We've all heard it, we all probably like it. Lots of it is very good, and lots of it is very bad. And an important point I want to make right off the bat is that taste in music is subjective, and everyone has an opinion on which songs are good and which songs are bad. But there are songs and even entire discographies out there that are almost universally considered to be terrible. But what are they, and why does everyone hate them so much? What makes bad music bad? And what is the true worst song of all time? I've been pondering these questions for a while, and in this video, I'm looking for an answer. That's one song you won't see in this video because that song is so good. My first step is to gather the data. I made sure to cast a wide net. I read through the Wikipedia page for music considered to be the worst because it's sorted by decade and I wanted to avoid recency bias. I also looked through the lowest rated singles on Rate Your Music and a few Reddit threads. And I obviously had to go up the YouTube chain of command to the creators who influenced the majority of these online discussions. I chose 3 channels: The Needle Drop, aka Anthony Fantano, Brad Taste in Music, and Hive Mind. These 3 channels make content primarily about music, and their opinions, especially Fantano's, have really shaped the way people talk about music online. So for this video, I made sure to take into consideration every album Fantano has given a 0 or a not good, as well as all the terrible music Brad has reacted to over the years, and every song included in all 3 of Hive Mind's worst songs brackets. And for good measure, I asked my subscribers what they thought was the worst song of all time. So now I have my data. I know pretty definitively which songs are the bad ones. And to figure out what exactly makes these songs so bad, I've come up with a system. I have found 5 categories that the majority of these songs fall into, 5 qualities that define bad music. And another point I want to make with this video is that there is a big difference between liking something and thinking it's good. You can hate a song and still think it's good, and you can like a song and still think it's bad. I like a ton of songs that I think are terrible, but we'll get to them later. I also found 3 other categories that a lot of these songs fall into, but I'm not including them because in my opinion, these characteristics don't necessarily make a bad song. The first is songs that are intentionally bad. A great example of an artist that makes intentionally bad music is Miles. I'm not including these because that kind of defeats the entire purpose in my opinion. I think part of what makes a bad song truly horrid is when its creator thinks it's really good. The second is songs that are only bad because of one specific aspect. I'm talking about songs like On the Floor by Ice JJ Fish, which has a terrible vocal performance, and East by Earl Sweatshirt, which has a really unusual beat. I personally like both of these songs. I think East is genuinely good, and On the Floor... Look, I think this one is supposed to be bad, but I didn't include it in the previous category because it fits better here. If the vocals were better, it would be a fine song. In fact, there's an alternate version that's exactly that. But honestly, I don't think it matters what his voice sounds like, because every time I hear this song, I have to sing along exactly the way he does.
It's something about the girl.
Finally, the third is songs that are only as hated as they are because they're overplayed. These would be your Ed Sheerans, your Meghan Trainors, your Imagine Dragons. I would argue that these songs aren't truly terrible, at least nowhere near as terrible as what we'll cover later, but regardless of quality, when you hear a song every time you go to the grocery store, you'll probably start to hate that song. Also, side note, I'm not including any covers, because I'm more interested in how bad a song can be on its own rather than how bad it can be made. So that's what I won't be covering in this video. I just wanted to say that here at the beginning so you wouldn't think I left anything out. As I mentioned before, I've come up with 5 categories that each represent a different quality that bad music can have. These qualities are annoying, cringe, offensive, hated figures, and former greats. Most of these are pretty self-explanatory, but I'm going to go through each one and provide examples. Category 1, annoying. Annoying songs are the ones that really just grate on your ears, the ones that make you feel physically angry. The 3 best examples I could find of straight up annoying songs are Friday by Rebecca Black, Dance Monkey by Tones and I, and Snake Eyes by Demon Dice. A strange subgenre of these universally hated songs are pop songs by children. Friday is the most notorious example, but Sweatshirt by Jacob Sartorius is another big one, and even Baby by Justin Bieber. These songs aren't great, but I've never really understood or agreed with that level of vitriolic hatred for a child. Dance Monkey though? Oh my god. This song is insanely popular, so there have to be people out there that like it. If you're one of those people, can you please explain why? I'm serious, leave a comment. This song legitimately makes me angry. It makes me want to throw things. And when I worked retail, they would play Dance Monkey like 8 times a day at the store I worked at. I know I said I wasn't including overplayed songs, but this song was bad to begin with. Category 2, cringe. These are songs that are extremely cringy for one reason or another, but usually because of their delivery or lyrical content. Some examples would be Peach Scone by Hobo Johnson, Game Over by Falling in Reverse, and Snake Eyes by Demon Dice. The thing about Peach Scone and a lot of Hobo Johnson's music is that it's just so awkward. It's like you're in the room with him. You feel like he's playing this song for you specifically, and it's really gonna hurt his feelings if he finds out you don't like it. And Game Over is just so embarrassing because Ronnie Radke is a grown man who has been to prison. Outside of his work with Falling in Reverse, he has a solo EP, which is also terrible. But it would probably fit better into our next category. Category 3, offensive. These songs are considered to be terrible specifically because their lyrics are offensive or problematic. 3 examples of offensive songs would be Happy Ending by Hobson, Literally Anything from Tom MacDonald, or Snake Eyes by Demon Dice. Happy Ending is straight up racist. There is no way around it. It's an extremely derogatory depiction of Asian people, specifically Asian women. If you've never heard it, oh my good lord, it is so much worse than you think it is. And I don't even want to talk about Tom MacDonald because that's exactly what he wants people to do. All he does is rap about alt-right talking points to push these viewpoints onto as many people as possible. And I feel like there's a word for that. Tom MacDonald is a massive grifter and he's not even American. And by talking about him for as long as I just have, I'm playing right into his hands. He built a career out of being a hated figure. Which brings me to Category 4, hated figures. These are not songs, but entire artists that people just hate. And this could be for really any reason, so I've picked a variety of examples. Nickelback is probably one of the first that come to mind. Their entire reputation is just being dudes who make terrible music. They didn't really do anything wrong, they just didn't do anything right either. On the other hand, Kanye West is someone who a lot of people hate because of all the problematic things he's said and done. He still has a very dedicated fan base, but at this point in time, audiences are more likely to dislike his music because they have a negative opinion of him as a person. A combination of both these factors would be someone like Jake Paul. His music sucks, and so does he. That's really all there is to say about him. Category 5, former greats. Rather than bad songs from someone everybody hates, these are bad songs from someone everybody loves, which makes it extra disappointing. Kanye West could also fit into this category because he has made great music that a lot of people love. But in terms of specific songs, I've chosen Temporary Secretary by Paul McCartney and THE by will.i.am featuring Jennifer Lopez and Mick Jagger. I will tell you something. Temporary Secretary is a weird, bad, fucked up little song from one of the greatest musicians of all time. It sucks. It sucks so bad. That being said, I love this song. This is the only song from Paul McCartney and the only song from any of the Beatles that I listen to on a regular basis. I will defend this song until the day I die. I cannot defend THE. The entire song is so bad, it might have the worst lyrics of any song I've ever heard, excluding the ones that are actually problematic and wrong. But what's so strange about THE, which by the way stands for The Hardest Ever, is that it is Mick Jagger who makes this song so bad. If you've never heard the song before, listen to like the last minute or so. It is unbelievable. My last example is not a song, but an entire album. Chance the Rapper's The Big Day. A horribly written, horribly produced, incredibly disappointing debut album from someone who, up until that point, was considered to be incredibly talented. And similar to THE, in the case of the album's lead single, Hot Shower, it is Chance the Rapper himself that makes the song so terrible. This album was so highly anticipated, which made the backlash that much greater when it turned out to be so bad. More than anything, I just feel sorry for Chance the Rapper. He seems like a really nice guy, and I do think he's talented. He's also, in my opinion, one of the most underrated SNL hosts of all time. I just think he really dropped the ball with his first album. The Big Day completely tanked his career, and I hate pointing this out because it feels so mean, but the entire album is about a marriage that is now over, which makes the whole ordeal feel like it was for nothing. So that's my summary of what I have found to be the 5 characteristics that make music bad, or at least widely hated. But you may have noticed that someone very important has been left out of the conversation. A figure so notorious, so infamous, that I had no other choice but to give him his own category. The king, the god, the final boss of bad music. Corey Feldman. If you're unfamiliar, Corey Feldman is a former child actor turned musician and public spectacle. He released an album in 2016 titled Angelic 2 The Core, which is considered by many to be one of, if not the worst album of all time. It's hard to know where to even begin with this one. It's not on any streaming platforms anymore, but there's no way to truly understand it until you actually listen to it front to back, or at least watch Fantana's video on it. I didn't even know music could sound like this. I will say that the album is extremely ambitious. It's aiming high. It opens with like a spoken word thing. There's like narration throughout from who I think is supposed to be God, or perhaps even the devil.
And the Lord said, "Thou shalt not lie."
There are also a lot of skits throughout where Corey Feldman is assigning Mission Impossible style missions to a group of angels who I assume live with him. It's like a Playboy Mansion situation.
I need you to go out there and spread love, light, and truth to all the people of the earth.
The music itself is all over the place. Angelic 2 The Core tries to tackle every genre under the sun. Pop, rock, funk, dubstep, jazz. Snoop Dogg is also there. And Corey caps the whole thing off with a cover of Working Class Hero by John Lennon.
Till the pain is so big.
The entire album is also very sexual, and I really don't like that. But as messy and as strange as Angelic to the Core is, I have trouble calling it the worst album of all time. First of all, I think there are some genuinely good ideas here. I'm not even joking. I think the biblical theming of it has potential. The first track, Ascension Millennium, isn't that bad, and Mercy, towards the end of the album, has a pretty catchy hook. Actually, a lot of the songs on this album do. I truly think this album would not have been nearly as much of a disaster if even a single person working on it had the slightest idea what they were doing. There are so many conflicting ideas and influences here. Angelic to the Core wants to be this grand concept album, but it can't decide what it wants the concept to be. It's kind of about religion, I think. It's also kind of an adventure serial about this group of angels who fight crime. I don't know. The songs themselves are such a mess, lyrically and sonically. If nothing else, this album will make you realize how important mixing is. It feels like every single song on this album had 100 different people working on it, and at no point during the recording process did any of them ever speak to or even meet each other. But at the same time, it feels like Corey Feldman's singular vision, which is why I don't feel comfortable just shamelessly dunking on it. Corey Feldman is someone who is very easy to make fun of, but given his history and the public eye and the childhood he had and the issues in his life that he has been very outspoken about, I think it's obvious that he is a product of a terrible environment and is ultimately a victim of circumstance. There have been allegations made against him that I don't at all want to dismiss or downplay, and it is entirely possible that he unfortunately continued to perpetuate the cycle of abuse that he was a victim of, but I just don't feel comfortable making fun of someone who has been through what he claims to have been through. It's kind of similar to my point about the excessive hatred towards music made by children. It feels like punching down. Every single second of Angelic to the Core is a tragedy. And it might be the worst album ever made, but I don't want to say that because I don't think it was made with bad intentions. And I don't know if you could call any of the individual songs on the album the worst song ever made. So what is the worst song ever made? Before we get to that, I have a few songs that don't quite fit into any of our previously established categories, but I had to include them anyways. Starting with Revolution 9 by the Beatles. There's a lot to unpack with this one. I didn't include it in the former great section because the Beatles made it when they were still the Beatles, so it's not as much of a fall from grace, and also I really wanted to talk about Temporary Secretary instead. Other than that, it doesn't belong anywhere else. Revolution 9 isn't even a song, it's more like one long sound that would play on loop at a haunted house. It's a collage of sounds being played forwards and backwards on loop. There are a ton of samples and sound effects and screaming. A lot of people think that if you play the song backwards, there are hidden messages about the devil, and the song supposedly feeds into the theory that Paul McCartney died in 1966 and was replaced by a lookalike. Revolution 9 also became kind of a cornerstone of Charles Manson's belief system and his predictions of an impending race war. There's a lot of bad tied into this song, but I don't necessarily think that means the song is bad. Again, I don't even think it should be considered a song, it's just like a thing that happened. Moving on to Pop Champagne by Jim Jones. This one is just so bizarre to me. I guess it could belong in the cringe category, but it just doesn't make me feel that kind of secondhand embarrassment. I don't know what it makes me feel. It's not really an emotion I have a word for. There's obviously the auto-tune of it all, but the beat is so simple. It's like a caveman beat. I love this song. I think it's so fun. And that's it. I only had 2 examples this time. So let's circle back to my previous question. What is the worst song of all time? If we continue to follow the logic I've been using throughout this video, then the worst song ever made would be one that has all 5 of the characteristics I mentioned. So let's run through some songs that belong in multiple categories, slowly building our way up, or down, to the worst song of all time. Karma by JoJo Siwa falls into 2 categories, cringe and hated figures. It's a dumb, cringy song made by someone a lot of people dislike. The hatred for this song in particular is probably because it marks JoJo's transition into a more edgy, supposedly mature public persona. The rollout for this single was full of blunders and bad press. She infamously claimed to have invented gay pop when she didn't, and overall the entire series of mishaps came across as a former child star trying too hard to convince the public that she's all grown up. In addition to JoJo's new image and online presence, people began piling on Karma itself because it is extremely cringy. In fact, Karma was originally recorded by a different artist, Britt Smith, and when she released her version in the wake of JoJo's whole mess, it outcharted JoJo's version. People started streaming it out of pure spite. And Britt Smith's version is actually pretty good. I know I said I wasn't including covers, but I don't think this counts because JoJo did try to pass it off as her own. But to be honest, I have trouble making fun of JoJo Siwa the same way I have trouble making fun of Corey Feldman. JoJo is currently on a path that we've seen so many child stars follow. She previously had a squeaky clean, very childish look, and she's trying to shed that in favor of a darker, more explicit image. But she clearly doesn't have the maturity to do that, so she shoots herself in the foot over and over again. But again, similar to Corey Feldman, it's clear that she is a product of her upbringing. She didn't get to be a teenager and have an awkward phase and make mistakes away from the public eye. And similar to Corey Feldman, there have been allegations against JoJo Siwa that would indicate she is putting others through the same mistreatment that she went through. And I don't condone that at all. I don't think it's right. I still think she has terrible taste in friends and even worse taste in movies. But JoJo and Corey and even people like Rebecca Black are all part of a larger point I want to make about how often the internet will rally against a figure for being cringe without considering what made that person the way they are. I do have one more example of that, but we'll get to that later. And I was kind of joking about it before, but Snake Eyes by Demon Dice belongs in 3 categories: annoying, cringe, and offensive. Let me preface this by saying, I have been honest and upfront with you throughout this entire video. I defended On the Floor, I defended Temporary Secretary, I even stood in front of you today and defended Corey Feldman's Angelic to the core. And now, I have to be completely transparent with you. I kind of like Snake Eyes. I know, it's bad, it's so bad. Just hear me out for a second. I don't want to like it, but the beat has some bounce to it. And you know what? I've got to be honest. It sounds like Captain Chicken.
Captain Chicken,
oh my god, you look gaudy, you the hot.
If you haven't heard Snake Eyes, don't bother. But if you haven't heard Captain Chicken, get educated because that song fucking rocks. The problem with Snake Eyes is Demon Dice herself. From what I understand, she's a VTuber who has a pretty big audience, and this was one of the first songs she ever released, so apologies in advance, but holy Moses! This lady couldn't rap her way out of a paper bag, and the lyrics are so insane. She criticizes what she calls SoundCloud rappers for rapping about the hood, hoes, and swagger. Demon Dice also wants to know why these rappers feel the need to swear so much, even though she herself has a song titled Girls Who Say Fuck, where she complains about people who take issues with her swearing. She literally says fuck 9 times in this song. I counted. Demon Dice then posits herself as being above these other rappers, claiming that she is, and I quote, out to prove you don't gotta be ghetto to spit it. Even though, and I quote, Satan said I wasn't black, male, or hood enough. Oh my god. This is such a bonkers bananas mentality to have, and such a bonkers bananas mentality to express through a rap song. There's also a clear obsession with and fetishization of Japanese culture. She says the phrase Jesus, Jesus, Japaneses, and I can't let that shit slide. This entire song is Demon Dice, a white woman, complaining about black rappers while also being possibly the worst rapper I've ever heard. It is so off-putting, and what's crazy is Snake Eyes isn't even her worst song. She Devil is so much worse.
I'm on CDs and no, I'm not a fan of Soho.
And the verses are so long too. She just doesn't stop. I get winded just listening to her. And she's clearly forcing herself to rap so much faster than she's capable of. She keeps stumbling over her words. No, I can't do this anymore. I think I just talked myself out of liking the song. Yay, I did it. Okay, before we keep going, I'm going to give you a content warning because this is where we start to delve into the worst of the worst. In my opinion, songs that are annoying or cringy will always pale in comparison to songs that are genuinely heinous and sinister in terms of subject matter. I've touched on these topics briefly throughout this video, but the further we go, the worse things are going to get. So I'm telling you now that this next section will contain discussions of sexual assault and the sexual abuse of minors. Pretty much anything from Onision's discography could fall under annoying, cringe, offensive, and hated figures. I would pick a specific song, but then I would have to go listen to his music, and I think I would rather die. Just off the top of my head, I'll pick his song YouTuber on Twitter, where he addresses all the accusations leveled against him and plays the victim the entire time. When I was making this video, I found that there are a lot of songs out there that are like that. People who have been accused of horrible things making music denouncing their accusers. In a similar vein, The Heart Part 6 by Drake belongs in 4 categories: cringe, offensive, hated figure, and I think former greats. He's super popular, so there have got to be people out there who thought he was great. I was never one of those people. The Heart Part 6 is a now deleted entry in the feud between Drake and Kendrick Lamar. I probably don't have to explain this feud to you unless you're watching this video 100 years in the future, in which case I probably still don't have to explain it to you. Just in case though, before The Heart Part 6 was released, Kendrick had released 2 diss tracks in a row where he leveled a lot of very serious accusations against Drake, accusing him of hiding a daughter, running a sex trafficking ring, and being a pedophile. Their history goes back a lot further than that, but it's not necessary information for this video, and I'm sure you already know about it. In this response to Kendrick, The Heart Part 6, Drake denies these allegations in a clumsy and dismissive way, insinuating that Kendrick only made these allegations because he was molested as a child. First of all, this is a complete misinterpretation of Kendrick's song Mother I Sober, in which he details his mother's experience with sexual assault and the trauma it caused her. It's a very personal song about his past, his present, and the ways in which sexual abuse affects the Black community. And in Mother I Sober, Kendrick explicitly states that he himself was never molested or sexually abused. Drake, in The Heart Part 6, references Mother I Sober as evidence that Kendrick was molested, which is untrue. And running on this false assumption, Drake mocks Kendrick for being a victim of abuse. I Admit by R. Kelly has every single terrible quality of bad music I outlined earlier in the video. It is once again a response to allegations of sexual assault and pedophilia. Despite the title and the chorus, he completely denies all the accusations leveled against him, instead admitting to much smaller transgressions like dropping out of school and being unfaithful. I Admit is a thinly veiled attempt to garner sympathy and attention and avoid taking accountability for anything he's done. He refuses to actually address the very real victims in this situation and instead chooses to focus on how much this whole ordeal is affecting him. And this song is so long, however long you think the song is, you're not even close because this song is 19 minutes long, and somehow it feels like 30. It's a complete disaster. And now, we have arrived. We have arrived at what I believe to be the worst song ever created. You Done Goofed by Blood on the Dance Floor. For context, Blood on the Dance Floor was a band fronted by a man named Davi Vanity. You Done Goofed was written as a response to an 11-year-old child by the name of Damian Leonhardt, who Davi Vanity had allegedly raped and abused. This is a very condensed version of events, but at the time, Damian was relentlessly harassed for making these accusations, and the entire situation went viral and spawned several memes at their expense, including the phrase, "You done goofed," which is where the title comes from. I have very little to say about this one because it is so terrible. It's a horrible combination of all the worst aspects of the songs we've talked about previously. It has the egocentrism of Onision, the insensitivity of Drake, the self-pity of R. Kelly. Rather than refusing to address his victim, though, Davi Vanity does quite the opposite. This song disparages and belittles Davi Vanity's 11-year-old victim, referring to them as a slut. It is so twisted and depraved, it is disgusting. You Done Goofed is the lowest rated song on Rate Your Music, and a part of me was hoping to find a worse song in order to shed light on something different and lesser known, but I wasn't prepared for how truly awful You Done Goofed is. It is completely devoid of any positive qualities. There is nothing redeeming about it. If it does get worse than this, and I'm sure it does, I don't want to hear it. You Done Goofed is by far the worst song I have ever heard. So the last section of this video took a turn into some darker territory, but this has been my thoughts on a collection of the worst songs ever written. I know that this video is obviously very limited in its scope. There are so many bad songs out there, and there are a lot of songs I didn't include. Outside of the ones I mentioned earlier in the video, I also didn't include any non-English songs because I just don't know about them. And like I said, I wanted to avoid recency bias, but I did choose a lot of modern examples. I also wanted to avoid popularity bias, which was pretty difficult because I was looking exclusively at songs that had received a significant amount of bad press. I think it's definitely possible that the worst song ever made is floating around on the internet somewhere and not a single person has heard it. But the crazy thing is, there's probably someone out there who will like it. Ultimately, I think I'm trying to apply objective rules to something that is subjective in nature. It's hard to fit every bad song ever into just 5 categories, especially when there's so much potential for these categories to bleed into each other. This has obviously been my opinion, so let me know in the comments what you think the worst song of all time is, what you think I should have included in this video, if you agree or disagree with literally any of my points, or if you think this whole video was pointless. Thank you to all of my subscribers who replied to my community post, and of course a very special thank you to Anthony Fantano, Brad Taste in Music, and Hivemind. I love you, Hivemind! On a serious note though, if anyone from Hivemind is watching this video, I would love to be on the show. I won't show my face or my body on camera, so you'll have to find a workaround for that. I was thinking maybe I could sit underneath the table. I just think that, frankly, I am a massive influencer with a huge audience, and if I was a guest on the show, I could bring a bit of star power that you guys just don't have. I mean, let's take a look at the last guest on the channel. Oh my god, Tizo touchdown. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, be sure to give it a thumbs up, and if you liked me, be sure to subscribe to my channel. If you want, you can even turn notifications on so you'll be the first to know the next time I'm fighting crime with my fellow angels. Anyways, that's gonna be all from me. I'm gonna go listen to Captain Chicken to cleanse my palate. Bye!
Everybody got a soul to survive.